This Mercury retrograde in Leo is showing out. Mercury is a sign of communication, and when it goes retrograde, it creates confusion. And what is Leo? Leo is a sign of fame, celebrities, taking the stage, taking the spotlight. But Leo is also an energy that's connected to your flirtation and romance. So in this video, we're going to go through Leo in your chart and how Mercury retrograde is going to be impacting where Leo is in your chart. And I will be showing you guys how to avoid the drama and lock in on what makes you crushable. That's right. We're going to manifest with this Mercury retrograde, and you're going to go through a crushable boot camp with your girl for the next 4 weeks, okay? This is all connected to the worksheets that I'm providing for you, in which you can follow the 30-day challenge. You can answer the Mercury retrograde prompts to give you ideas on what you can do. But ultimately, the goal here is actually to rewind and go back for the next 4 weeks, looking at the area in your chart that Mercury retrograde is transiting and seeing what you need to do to develop your crushability. That's right. What makes people want to crush on you, baby? You have got the goods, but this retrograde is showing you where you may have forgotten some of your goods. So this also has a lot to do with your connection to your creativity, your artistry, your hobbies, and your crafts, because Leo is connected to those things, and those things are connected to your joy, and the foundation of joy is where we find romance, that hot, sexy, sensual passion, that hot girl in the street, that hot guy that you really wish that would put his eye on you. All of these things are connected to our abundance of creativity expressing itself through romance and flirtation. And while Mercury is going retrograde in Leo, this is a chance for you to get as crushable as you can be. And you're going to go into the incubator. You're going to go into a little midsummer hibernation with this Mercury retrograde. And you're going to work on these elements of yourself, okay? We're going to go through the signs. We're going to go through the houses, starting with the first house. Okay, if Mercury retrograde in Leo is going through your first house, you need to avoid drama like the plague, because everyone is going to be coming for you. And you too may even want to indulge in some drama because, hey, it's actually part of one of the strongest houses in your chart, and your personality might call for it. And while it might be fun to be a part of the drama, you might be missing out on this chance to go back and reestablish your crushability when it comes to how you present yourself and how you look. So the first house is the house of first impressions, and you want to avoid strangers who you've never met before, who seem to have this itch to get into drama. You want to watch out for that. And you want to actually dedicate the next 4 weeks to going back and looking at presentations that you have done that cultivated your creativity. What were some of the outfits you wore? What were some of the things that you love to wear that maybe you forgot? During this transit, you may also discover new elements that you might want to add, right? You might want to think about changing your hair. You might think about going back to an old hairstyle that you used to have. So this placement is asking for you to really focus in on what makes you express yourself completely when people first see you, and to go back and recommunicate what that expression is, because there may have been something that you had forgotten. Now, if you have Mercury retrograde going through Leo in your second house, this is the area of your chart, as we all know, is connected to value and income, which means that you have to watch drama that is around money. Okay, if people try to borrow money, if you feel like people owe you money, I don't know. But whatever the issue is around money, it may reveal itself during this retrograde. And you want to see that and go, red flag, that's not the direction that I want to include myself in so much. You actually want to tell yourself that all of the money that is owed to you that you want is coming to you. And in the meantime, for these next 4 weeks, you're going to focus on your best self when it comes to what are the things that you need to have that help make you look crushable. That's right. So your crushability is based off of your value and the things that you possess. And there may have been even old projects that you were part of that really you can pull on, that showcase to you, remind you of what your value is. And you also may be wanting to go back and get new products or old products that you used to use that you forgot about, that, hey, if you had that product in your arsenal, maybe your skin would be a little bit clearer. Maybe you would have a really like a really nice collection of perfumes that would enhance your entire aura. So you're looking at the things that you own, and you may also use this time to declutter some of the things that you own. If you have Mercury retrograde going through Leo in your third house, then you want to avoid extended family like the plague, especially if they come with the drama. That's the siblings, the cousins, all of that. This retrograde is showcasing to you where it is that you need to tap into the old way you used to communicate in your projects. And there might be some new revelations for you, but there's something about what you used to do that can really help clear up the air for you in your understanding of what makes you crushable. Okay. So, this has a lot to do with your skills. You're the type of person where people really, they really get going when they see how skilled you are at whatever it is that you do. Being a master at your skills should be the goal during these next 4 weeks, because there's something about skills that connect to your confidence and just help you to look so crushable. Like people want to crush on you big. You see, we don't realize how much these elements matter to how people want to flirt with us, but it absolutely does. You know, when we look at the third house, you think about somebody who has like a really amazing skill at even just throwing a ball. If you look at somebody who like plays the piano really well, there's something about that that's really hot. And that's what you're getting back into. What are those skills that you do? Are you somebody who can cut wood really well, or I don't know, change the toilet? You would never know until you really honed in and recognize that it shifts your frequency when you hone in on those skills. Now, if you have Mercury retrograde in your Mercury retrograde going through Leo through your fourth house, this is an area that is your home and how comfortable you feel at home. There may have been old home projects that you have put to the wayside, and it might be a time where you can come back and start putting some of those pieces together to complete these home projects that you might have had, creative projects. Okay, and you want to avoid family members who like to get into drama like the plague, okay? Because people will be trying you, okay? And it will be enticing. Like, people don't realize how enticing drama is. This is the type of drama that you might even feel like, dang, I might want to get in on this. But it could be distracting you from the real goals here, which is to tap back into your crushability. And for you, your crushability is based off of how well you take care of yourself emotionally. If you are the type of person that allows your emotions to get sloppy, especially in the middle of drama, this Mercury retrograde is going to be one where you could you could find yourself in places with people, family members that you never wanted to be, right? So the goal here is to actually just focus on what is your emotional space when it comes to feeling like you are the king. You are the queen of your kingdom. So people who have this energy of like ruling the space that they're in, right? They have an energy of crushability that makes people feel safe around them, you know? And you never know who could come over. So make sure that your house is looking put together as much as you can and giving it that vibe and expression that you want. Don't just like push yourself to clean the house. No, make the house feel like a kingdom. Okay, and that's actually going to help you want to clean the house, but you may even have to hire some people because this is Leo after all in your chart. But ultimately, you know, prepare the den for whomever may come over and pay you a nice visit. Okay, if you have Mercury retrograde and Leo going through your fifth house, this is actually one of the main prime spaces for an ex coming back, baby. Okay, because the fifth house is where we have all of our dates. And this is actually an energy that could have you really having to recommunicate with old exes. Now, if that's the case, I want you to avoid the drama like the plague. But because it's prime season for that, with Leo in your fifth house and Mercury retrograde going through, my biggest message to you is that whatever is unfinished between your exes is the thing that is holding you back from your crushability, because maybe you have held onto them for too long, or the version of you that was with them still hasn't evolved. And so your connection and your relationship, or your chat, your conversations with your exes is a form of completion. It's a form of closure, because it will show to you how you have grown. And look, the better you can have that closure through these communications, the hotter you'll be. If you've ever heard of somebody, like people say like, oh, married people are really hot, being able to communicate closure with your ex makes you very hot as well. Okay. So that is the goal here, is to work on your communication with your romantic people. And there may have been some old, like, creative versions of you that you suppressed, maybe because that was an old version of you that you let go of when you were with a certain person. So this will be the time where you may go back into the old, I guess you would call it archives, and find some of the old things you made, some old pictures you painted, some old music that you made or lyrics that you wrote, and kind of rekindling your relationship with your creativity so that you can approach your love life as a whole version. This actually, by August 11th, this energy will really shift you. I think that you'll be finding that you are your ex's, like, the one that they got away. And maybe you haven't been approaching it so much that your ex is the one that got away, but you will feel the energy is helping you to feel like you're the one that got away. And that's a complete shift, right? In a version of yourself and in an expression of yourself, right? Because if you're constantly focused on, oh, this person got away from me, you might have depleted some of that creative energy. You might have depleted your self-expression, right? This is a house that can lose its joy and lose its sense of living. So this could be some serious stuff, like being able to make closure with an ex. Maybe even if you don't communicate with them, but you write it in a song or something like that, that you find the position where you're the one that got away. And this is going to shift a lot for you when it comes to your romantic nature, and you really need it at this point. Okay, if you have Mercury retrograde going through Leo in your sixth house, this is an area, as we know, is connected to work, to our work ethic, routines, and our health. And actually, one of the cliche things is that your crushability, and what makes you crushable, is taking care of your health. I mean, really making sure that you are working on eating foods that support your digestive needs specific to yours, because everybody has different digestive needs. And you also connecting to a routine, because routines make you hotter with Leo in the sixth house. Now, you want to avoid drama with coworkers or people that you work with, because that's where it's going to be brewing. And while it might be enticing to find out who's effing who, it might serve you professionally to stay far away from it, okay? All right, so if you have Leo retrograde, if you have Mercury retrograde going through Leo in your seventh house, ding ding, this is another space that is prime location for dealing with an old ex, right? This could be somebody who you were with for a very long time, or maybe you guys were married, that could also be the possibility. But this is a chance for you to rekindle, very similar to the fifth house, the old version of you, and to assess how far you have come. And you want to avoid drama with partnerships like the plague. I'm talking about the partnership that you're in. Okay, the partnership that you're in, because if you are navigating this frequency right now, trying to make whole with the people you were before, your partner might be feeling that and might be feeling a little about that. So your partner might be wanting to conjure up drama with you because they see that you're you're kind of going through something at this moment. And this something that you're going through might be that you have encountered an old person that you used to be with for a long time. Or it might just be that you are trying to tap into what makes you crushable when it comes to your relatability. Like you may be feeling like, look, I don't feel like I'm hot stuff that people want to flirt with. Maybe even my own partner doesn't make me feel that way at the moment. I want more romance in my life. So this Mercury retrograde is asking for you to kind of like take this more seriously. And what really makes you crushable is that you are relatable. But before you can become relatable to everyone else, you gotta let down the guard of pride. And you've got to allow yourself to see what you like in others so that you can actually portray that as well through yourself, if that makes sense. So in the worksheets that I have below, I do have a few prompts that can help guide you through this. This placement might be one of those placements that really need to go through those prompts to really uncover and unlock what's holding you back romantically, what's holding you back from being that person that everybody wants to have on their shoulder, on their arm, being that arm candy. Okay, with Mercury retrograde in Leo going through their 8th house, I mean, things have been heating up since the 5th house, but as we get to the 8th house, this is your crushability of being hot, sexy, and seductive, okay? And yet you may not feel like you are, or you may have fallen back a little bit on that, and this Mercury retrograde is here to help you rekindle that. But the thing is that your actual intimate partners or past lovers, past partners that you had sex with, or maybe you had even children with, these are the things that might be coming up for you during this transit where you're dealing with possible drama with these players in the game of this retrograde. Okay, and people might be conjuring things up out of the blue because it's Scorpio, so it could feel quite secretive. It could feel like people are being vindictive. People are kind of underhanded. This could cause you to be stirred up. But the goal is for you to actually let that go. Let go of all those dark, yucky, mucky ways that people can be, the vileness that people can portray, especially through their words in this placement, because when drama gets pursued in the 8th house, it can get nasty, okay? So I want you to focus on your crushability. Your crushability is the focus for these next 4 weeks in cultivating that version of you that is super crushable, that is super enticing, that is very seductive. And whether you encounter an old ex-lover or not, or if you're with somebody right now, very similar to the 5th and 7th house message, you're learning how to tap into your creativity and figure out what turns you on. What turns you on about yourself, about other people, because that's really what's missing at this point, is that communication in your inner world about what makes you crush on other people. And now you want to give that to yourself. So your power is what makes you crushable, and that's you turning yourself on without anybody else having to do it. Okay? If you have Mercury retrograde in Leo going through your 9th house during this season, then the drama you want to avoid is people with dogmatic beliefs, spiritual gurus, teachers. You want to avoid people like that, or just avoid them and watch out for them causing drama, because it will be a war match between what I know versus what you know, okay? Now, the energy here is actually asking for you to be more creative with your position and point of view on life. And you may have had old things that you did maybe in school, old projects that you did in school, or maybe something that you did in the church, an old hobby or craft that you used to do in the church that you might rekindle your time with at this point in order to come back up with what makes you super crushable, super enticing and flirty. And it might also be issues here with Leo in the 9th house, some of you, where you haven't made those connections. You haven't bridged those ideas that you could be spiritual, you could be your higher self, but you can also be sexy, you can also be flirty, you can also be crushable. But I mean, the evidence is out there now. It's not the best evidence, but there's clearly evidence of spiritual leaders who are super hot. Sometimes some of them take advantage of their congregation and create cults. So you're not necessarily trying to do that. But the real thing is just to zero in on what makes somebody who's spiritual very hot, very sexy. It seems like they can take you anywhere and you will be able to explore and be safe in your mindset of yourself. And that is very sexy. That you're somebody that people could explore things with, that they can get out of their mundane and become around you who is a more exotic type of person. But first you have to tap back in to that exoticness, that thing about you that makes you explore as well. And that's what this Mercury retrograde through Leo will be helping you to do. Now, if Mercury retrograde in Leo is going through your 10th house, well, this is also another place for a lot of drama, for a lot of people to see you and for you to be pulled into people's drama. So avoid people who are calling you out in public and who are public figures themselves, especially public figures who have drama, because they could end up throwing you under the bus and calling you out in public. For these next 4 weeks, this energy is a little bit more potent. And the biggest thing you want to focus on is what makes you crushable. And it's your authority that makes you crushable. This is the question as to like, why is it that some of us have crushes on our bosses? Because there's something about being in charge, having to harness a lot of responsibility that is hot, that is sexy. Yes, believe it or not. Now, a lot of people harness a lot of responsibility and become very run down, but that's not what this is. But that might be what you're figuring out during these 4 weeks, is how is it that you can embody holding your responsibilities, but not letting them run you down. This creates a work-life balance that actually makes you more crushable when you finally figure that out. Now, if you have Mercury retrograde in Leo going through your 11th house during this season, well, this is a placement where you could also be in the middle of something that you shouldn't be, in a more public atmosphere, okay? But this could be more of a thing where you interject yourself into the middle of drama. So I want you to avoid getting in the middle of drama when it comes to other influencers, making sure they don't pull you in and making sure you don't try to pull yourself in. That would be the difference between this and the 10th house, I think, So in understanding this, you're working on becoming more crushable, right, through your influence. But the key is to stay in your lane and don't look over, okay? Because this is an area of the chart, right? Mercury in an 11th house is kind of having a good time, right? And then with Leo can call a lot of attention. So you could get a lot of attention towards your social media, towards your platform by interjecting in the middle of somebody else's stuff, but you don't really want that outcome. You don't really want that drama, even though it might be enticing because you could really ride that wave. You could really ride that trend. What you really want to do is find the trends that are just for you and that makes sense for you in your path, okay? You may also be rekindling some old creative project that you were doing and having a lot of supporters for, and you need to kind of bring it back or make a more wholesome relationship to that version of you that was creating with these groups of followers, and maybe even pave your lane off of something that you once did before. The biggest thing is to just watch out for getting in the middle of other people's stuff. You won't have to do much to earn your crushability during these 4 weeks. You just have to avoid the drama like the plague on these internet streets, okay? Because there's something about your influence that is crushable. There's something that makes you strangely influential. And I say strangely on purpose with emphasis. So the things about you that you feel are strange are actually very hot. And so rekindling your relationship to your strangeness, to the things that make you stick out like a sore thumb, could be something there that you didn't see coming, some sort of even sponsorship that could be an opportunity for you if you lock in your own lane, okay? If you have Mercury retrograde going through Leo in your 12th house, Well, this is going to be a transit that isn't as loud as the rest of the zodiac, right? Because the 12th house is where we're a little bit more alone with ourselves. But that Mercury retrograde is kind of still calling in drama, and it can be more of those underhanded types. And I never like dealing with underhanded types. I prefer to pretend that they're not there. But when you've got Leo in the 12th house, you may not always be able to pretend that they're not there. You might actually have to address it to a degree, but how you address it matters. So you're really watching out for those who assume you to be not what you are. Okay. And when they do that, they do create a lot of drama. They create a lot of drama in your inner world, and they don't have to do much. This is a place that can be very susceptible. And the people who have Leo in the 12th house, they either become roaring lions that no one hears, or they become very, very strategic with what people know about them. Okay, this is a time for you to let go of being too serious, because being too serious is what's going to probably pull you into a spiral. Okay, and focusing on what makes you crushable, this is about connecting to your inner quiet world. If you've ever been around somebody where like everybody else in the room is talky, chatty, but this one person seems to be saying the least amount, this is your placement. And you know what? It's also similar to the 8th house. The 12th house and the 8th house Leos have this crushability power where if you're able to just hone in on your silence in the room, you become extremely mysterious and people come towards you. So that's one of the things you might be working on, is having people come towards you and discovering how it's by your frequency change that you see these things around you outside of you shifting. And it would be really cool because it's like you're feeling the change and you're cultivating it inside of you, and you're seeing objects and people and events move around you according to your own inner frequency. Okay, it's really good placement to tap into old projects as well here. Ones that you maybe even like things that you may have preserved, things that also that you may have archived. Going back and looking at those things, reminding yourself of who you are, how far you've come. And you may find, like many of the other placements that I've told to go back and look at their projects, creative projects, you may find like they're still really good. And there's something about that you can use. Either you can use the project itself, or you can really finally see that whatever you touch is gold. And that is what you should be focusing on, not all of the yucky energy that people are underhandedly trying to throw at you. So that is your Mercury retrograde in Leo forecast and horoscope. And if you guys want to lock in and build your crushability, check the worksheets down below. Peace and love.